How is AI revolutionising the way we shop and receive products? What goes on behind the scenes? Well, today I'm going to be diving deep into the world of retail order management with my guest, Chap, who is the Vice President of Product Strategy and Operations at Nextuple. And with more than 25 years' experience in the retail OMNI fulfillment domain, Chap has been at the forefront of transforming how retailers manage orders from giants such as Best Buy to premium brands like Red Wing Shoe Company and so many more. But at Nextuple, Chap is leading the charge in redefining omni-channel fulfillment by leveraging advanced AI and machine learning and microservices architecture. So in this episode today, we're going to explore how something called Predictive Promising, powered by AI, is reshaping customer experience by accurately forecasting delivery times and reducing manual inefficiencies. And we'll also discuss how Gen AI and dynamic inventory services are enabling retailers to maintain optimal stock levels and streamlining operations. So whether you are curious about the impact of AI on retail or just want to understand the future of order management systems, my guest insights will offer a much clearer view on some of the innovations that are already transforming the industry. So, what role will AI play in the future of retail, and how will it influence the products we see on store shelves? I want to take a time out to express my gratitude to everyone who supports my mission of delivering daily content to you in 165 countries. I couldn't do it without you, and I couldn't do it without my sponsors. So, quick shout out to any defence contractors listening out there. CMMC 2.0 compliance doesn't have to be a headache. Consider Kiteworks your fast track to authorization. And as a FedRAMP moderate authorized solution, they cover nearly 90% of CMMC 2.0 level 3 requirements. For you, that means less time, less effort, less cost. And while others struggle with DIY approval processes and clunky apps, you'll breeze through with their zero trust framework. So don't let compliance slow you down, is what I'm trying to say. Simply visit kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com to learn more about Kiteworks' secure content platform for CMMC compliance. But with my thank yous out of the way, it's now time to jump right into today's interview with a fantastic guest. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Good morning. My name's Chap Achen, and I've been at Nextuple for a few years now. Most of my career has been in retail and the order management side, so kind of where digital commerce meets supply chain. And at Nextuple, I help our clients get the most out of our technology and then help our product team take those client pain points and make sure we're working on the right things in our product.
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about Nextuple a little bit later in the podcast. But to begin with, I always ask my guests to try and demystify a buzzword, some technology or anything that maybe we hear on a regular basis, but a little bit too afraid to ask exactly what it means. So today, I'm going to ask you to introduce everyone listening to the concept of predictive promising. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how you see it transforming the landscape of retail order management, particularly in things like improving fulfillment efficiency, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. And luckily, predictive promising is actually one of the easier AI ML models to understand. It's essentially taking a retailer or anybody's past shipment performance, historical data, using that then to turn around and predict what is the estimated delivery date of a product going to be using that history. So instead of using rules to decide based on when someone's ordering, what carrier it might be, what distribution center it might ship out of, to use actual historical data to then come up with a prediction of when something might arrive at someone's house. Now, from an fulfillment efficiency perspective, this doesn't really make the fulfillment process more efficient. However, it helps retailers make accurate promises, which can drive conversion and confidence in the consumer experience. And then, of course, on the retailer side, it simplifies the ability for them to make that promise.
Perfectly explained there. And at Nextuple, of course, you're on this mission to level the playing field for omni-channel retailers. So I've got to ask, there's a lot of hype around AI at the moment. A lot of businesses trying to understand what does it mean for them and what problems can it solve. And AI and machine learning are integrated into your order management studio. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how it ultimately enhances the accuracy of delivery estimates and customer satisfaction? And I suspect a few other things, because it's great to hear the actual value that this technology can offer.
Right. So predictive promising is really exciting because not only can you predict an outbound promise to a consumer, but you could predict an inbound promise from a supplier into a distribution center, as an example. And the way we use AI ML in terms of our Nextuple Order Management Studio is certainly someone can toggle that feature off and on if they decide that they don't have enough confidence in the data. But essentially, down at the SKU/vendor level, we can decide, do we have enough training data so we have confidence that this prediction is going to be accurate. And so when a promise is being made, if the retailer has decided, you know what, at this particular supplier SKU, I don't have enough data to make that predictive promise. Down at that level, you can turn on something or turn off something to allow that promise to be made to the consumer.
And to bring to life what we're talking about here, are there any real-world examples you can share where predictive promising has directly impacted a retailer's bottom line and operational efficiency? And the reason I ask that is I think every tech project is under close scrutiny now for what ROI is it going to deliver, what business value is it going to generate for us, etc. So it'd be great to hear some real-world examples of how you've done that with this.
Yeah, actually, this is one of the more straightforward AI use cases, I think, in the industry. So when you make a predictive promise, typically it's actually faster than what you're promising today, because retailers like to put in conservative promises, make sure that they deliver against that promise. But that typically means a slower promise. So what we've seen, an example that we're working with, a retailer is using predictive promising for all of their dropship suppliers, and they're seeing a 5.5 day improvement in the delivery promise that they will be able to make to consumers. Another retailer that we are doing a POC with that's using stores for fulfillment is going to recognize a 2.5 day improvement in the delivery speed of the promise that they're making to consumers. And that just translates into bottom line conversion improvement, right? The faster you can make a promise, the more specific you can make a promise. There's tons of data that supports that drives increased conversion and then consumer satisfaction.
And I'm curious, how would you say your approach to AI-driven order promising, how would you say that differs from some of the more traditional methods that are out there? And what are the particular advantages that it might offer to retailers facing today's market challenges? Because the pace of change is moving so quickly at the moment. It'd be great to understand the old world to the new world.
Yes. The irony with this one is that what actually prevents a lot of retailers from making a specific delivery promise today. So, many of them have shipping windows on their site still today that says, you can order something and get it in 3 to 7 days, as an example. The amount of data analysis, the configuration, and then the ongoing monitoring of all of the inputs that go into a traditional promising engine, which would be, manual configuration of data, loading of transit tables, that takes a lot of effort and it, of course, needs to be maintained. And there's tons of variability in that, right? What is the shipping performance of a node on a Friday afternoon versus a Tuesday morning, for example, for a given item? And so predictive promising actually eliminates all the setup required because you're using that historical data. So its outcome is better, as we discussed. It's faster and it's more accurate, but then the actually ability to do it is somewhat enabled by the AI model itself, because it allows retailers to get away from all this manual work that traditional promising engines have involved.
And just to drill a little bit deeper on this, are you also able to explain just how your dynamic inventory service, how that uses AI to improve fill rates, reduce inventory related issues for retailers too? Because this feels like somewhat of a game changer too.
Yeah, absolutely. The classic issue for omni-channel retailers is finding that balance between how much store inventory you would show online, how much to keep as safety stock to protect the fill rate, the customer experience, and then how much to reserve for walking consumers. And our model attempts to balance those, keeping the safety stock as low as possible, so to maximize online sales, while keeping that fill rate high and keeping in mind that walk-in customer. And most retailers are just kind of focusing on getting the safety stock right. But in grocery use cases, for example, with high SKU velocity, you want to protect offline sales for that day as well. So we used forecast data, sales history, bill rate performance to come up with a recommendation on that available to promise I would show an online customer, how much to keep for that offline customer, and the right safety stock level to protect the fill rate. And in addition, we allow the business customer to decide which one of those is the most important.
And with generative AI also rising in popularity, how do you see that foreseeing its role evolving in retail order management, particularly in terms of inventory audit inquiries, dynamic safety stock calculations? Those kind of areas feel like a good fit for it. But what are you seeing here?
We're actually using Gen AI right now in our inventory service to help IT and business teams improve the speed of issue discovery. So instead of writing queries to find out where an inaccuracy in inventory data came from, I can interrogate the data using a chatbot. And that will go, in natural language, tell me where is the issue being caused with this inventory data. In the future, I imagine an AI model that can proactively find issues with the inventory data. For example, if I saw 4 online inquiries for availability fail because there was a disconnect between the sales channel of view of inventory and the back-end system, I could proactively move that SKU to out of stock or proactively send a message to an operator with possible root causes that they should look into. So tons of upside, I think, as we think about Gen AI and order management.
And obviously, we're talking about incredibly complex technologies here. So what kind of challenges do retailers face, especially when transitioning to an AI-driven order management? Because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people very apprehensive when they're hearing about this and any kind of technological change, especially after those tech projects that always seem to take an age to get implemented. And then you've got the culture change that goes with that as well. So can you tell me about those challenges and how you're helping ease them through that transition as well?
Yeah, a lot of people will mention data, and of course that is important. But I'll focus on another element, which is explainability. So when people implement these models, they want the ability to understand how the decision was made by the model. And a lot of the past experiments that we've seen, specifically in the order management domain with ML models, is that lack of explainability has caused the retailer to not get through that change curve because they were unsure of how the system was making a decision. So at Nextuple, we actually use Gen AI to provide that explainability that allows a user to see what attributes caused the decision to be made. What was the attribute that had the most weight into the decision? But in addition to that, before you even get to these models, we allow retailers a flexible way to define all the costs and the penalties that might go into an AI decision. So they make sure that they have that data correct in the system in the first place. And then when they get to that model, they'll have confidence in the data, but then that added explainability will allow them to gain that further confidence to say, yes, I can see why this decision was made. And then I can go, if I don't like that, I can go tweak the model to improve the outcome.
And of course, we're talking here in autumn. Autumn is here. We're already weeks away from pumpkin spice lattes, Black Friday emails, and all that other crazy stuff. So looking ahead, what innovations in AI and ML do you anticipate will have maybe the most significant impact on retail order management and indeed customer experience?
Yes. The model that we haven't talked about yet that I'm really excited for is node selection. And instead of, a power of an order management system is to take all these business rules and then select the best node that meets, service goals, cost goals, utilization goals. And today that's all done with rules by business users. And tomorrow, where I think we're headed, is businesses telling the system, these are my actual KPIs I'm trying to get, right? I want to move from 5 days to 3.5 days of transit time, as an example. Supplying the inputs to the system and then having the system make the decision based on trying to optimize against those actual end outcomes. And I think that's going to unlock potential cost savings and network speed improvements that retailers can't see today in the rules that they have set up. So I think that's tremendously exciting for retailers.
And I am conscious we've been fully focused on the future and where we're going. But as we come towards the end of the podcast now, I want to find out a little bit more about you and ask you to look back throughout your career. I'm sure you've picked up a few war stories along the way. So is that a funny or interesting story that has happened to you throughout your career that we are able to share today?
Yes. Back when I was at Best Buy, I had the fortune of being in a future of work, remote work pilot. It was a results-only work environment that Best Buy was doing. And it was a very innovative time. This was back in 2006. This was a very innovative concept at the time. Of course, fast forward, we're all dealing with, hybrid work, remote work. But at the time, it was quite innovative. And I was actually selected to be interviewed by Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes about the future of work in 2006. So it was my 15 minutes of fame, being interviewed on how that process was unfolding and everything that we were learning there at Best Buy. And fast forward 20 years, and here we are today, and remote work is a part of the fabric of our life now.
Wow, what a fantastic story. I love that. Is that interview still on YouTube somewhere? You must have it stored somewhere, right?
I think I have a DVD copy of it somewhere. I'm not sure it was one of the most popular episodes that 60 Minutes ever did. It's probably not on YouTube.
I love it. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about any of the things we talked about today and find out more about AI-powered predictive order promising, where should they look? Any way you'd like to point everyone?
Yeah, I would just say, head to nextuple.com. All of our AI models are out there available for people to look at. Of course, we're on LinkedIn, and we do have some content out on YouTube as well if you search for Nextuple.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and demystifying the world of predictive promising and how applying AI and generative AI, the impact that it has, the real-world use cases that are already transforming retail order management and the value that it's bringing, and ultimately how it's impacting the products everyday consumers are looking for on the shelves, whether or not they will be there, of course. But that is a story for another day. So just a big thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much. It was terrific to get to talk about this. And as I said, super excited about where AI and ML are going to go in the field of retail order management.
So as we've heard today, AI is not just a buzzword in retail. It's actually the driving force behind tangible improvements in order management, inventory accuracy, and even customer satisfaction. And I cannot thank Chap enough for coming on and illuminating how Nextuple's innovative approaches are enabling retailers to essentially predict, promise, and deliver like never before, ultimately transforming how products move from those warehouses right into our hands as consumers. But what stood out for you in today's discussion? Was it the potential of predictive promising or enhancing customer confidence, or even exciting applications of generative AI in inventory management? Whatever it was, I think it's clear that AI is set to revolutionize retail and offer businesses tools that they need to thrive in this increasingly competitive area. But as we wrap up, think about these advancements, how they could impact your own experience as a consumer and equally as a professional in the retail industry. And ask yourself, how will AI change the way you shop or the way you manage your business? These are the questions that are helping shape the future of retail, and I hope today's conversation has sparked just a few ideas and insights for you. But as always, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep exploring this intersection of technology and business, and hopefully you'll join me again bright and early tomorrow here on Tech Talks Daily, because we're going to do it all again. Bye for now.